Hi. Thanks for coming in.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Come on through. In all my years of interviewing, I've never had so many colleagues wanting to come along to a recording as this one with musician Nick Cave.
Is that you?
That's me, that's you.
Is that your questions?
It is, but I don't always use them. So it's my security.
If you start looking at them, it means it's going terribly, horribly wrong.
He grew up in Wangaratta and, after a wild youth, left Australia for the UK 45 years ago.
God, there's so many cameras.
There's so many cameras. We'll wait for your coffee. Oh, yeah.
You'd be on
Little bit.
Hair Patrol.
Life always revolved around music with his band, The Bad Seeds. But more recently, after the loss of 2 of his 4 sons, he's found new meaning.
And I'm not afraid to die.
For most of my life, I was just sort of in awe of my own genius. You know, and I had an office, and I would sit there and write every day, and whatever else happened in my life was peripheral. Even annoyances, because I was involved in this great work and this just collapsed completely, and I just sort of saw the folly of that, the kind of disgraceful sort of self-indulgence of the whole thing. My priorities changed. You know, I still work all the time. I still go on tour. You know, I still piss everyone off because I'm making a new record, or I'm depressed because I can't write songs. The same things still apply, but that idea that art sort of trounces everything it just doesn't apply to me anymore. I'm a father, and I'm a husband, and a kind of person of the world. These things are much more important to me than the concept of being an artist, let's say.
Take a little walk to the edge of town, or go across the tracks, where the viaduct looms like a bird of doom as it shifts, it cracks.
We found, when we were looking at all of the archive, an old clip of you when you were 28.
What do you think you'll be doing when you're 56?
I can't really see myself doing tours of Australia, particularly. And I would hope that I wasn't involved in music by then.
But hidden in his coat.
I've always said to myself that I would bow out of it once it became obvious to me that I was making inferior music to what I'd made before.
Will sun go down to the water?
How unexpected has it been to find yourself now in your 60s still making music, being creative, doing new stuff?
It's difficult to say because I'm here. I am that age. So I think my younger self would be impressed in that I've just sort of hung around.
One of the things that's really striking about your career is that you have continued to be really innovative. A lot of people in creative life have a fruitful period when they're young, whereas you've continued innovating, being creative, and the fans have gone with you on that. It's not like they're sitting there fidgeting, just waiting for you to play Red Right
No.
Hand.
Yeah, it's been a slow, late developer. No, but I mean, I think a relationship is developed between me and my fans that's developed together.
Well, you'll know next time not to come up the front when we play, won't you? The front row is not for the fragile, my dear.
It was initially, 40 years ago, an adversarial relationship with my audience. It was, you know, you went to sort of war with the crowd in some kind of way. Over the years, it's just sort of developed into something that's the opposite of that, and is really a sort of outpouring and incoming of love between the audience and the people on stage, and that seems to really work sometimes, you know. I've just been talking, you know, reassessing with my team, my manager and all of this sort of stuff. What exactly is Nick Cave? We've been doing that recently because we have a new album coming out, a new Bad Seeds album. That's always been the primary flagship of everything. But something like the Red Hand Files has just grown in importance. It's grown in importance to the way I am and the way that I live my life and the way I communicate with my audience and so forth. And that's interesting. It's interesting that the actual primary function of what I do artistically or creatively shifts to some degree.
For people who don't know, the Red Hand Files, it started as kind of like an Ask Me Anything where people would write to you and ask you questions that you would answer.
There are thousands of questions here. Thousands and thousands. There's 38,065 questions. My brother David died 2 years ago. He was just 24 and I was 19. It feels like everyone is moving on and forgetting him, and I'm afraid of letting go of my anger. What if I don't know who I am without it? For so long has my grief been an inextricable part of me. Alison. Billy from Scotland. My wife has thrown me out. I've lost my job all within a week. Suicidal thoughts in abundance. How does one handle having seemingly no control over one's life? This is a really beautiful question too.
As you say, it's become very important to you. Why do you think it's become so important?
You know, it's a completely unique thing for me personally. I mean, it sort of grew out of sort of personal tragedy that happened within my family.
The 15-year-old son of Australian rock musician Nick Cave has died after falling from a cliff on the south coast of England. Police in the UK say Arthur Cave was found with life-threatening injuries.
The Red Hand Files was people writing in saying, look, this has happened to me. This is what's going to happen to you. You know, expect this. It wasn't just people being sympathetic. It was people who'd had the same thing or similar things happen to them. But it was also a kind of lifeline for me that reached out and collected up these people. And it's something that's just allowed me to remain open to the world rather than shut down.
I will miss you when you're gone. I'll miss you when you're gone away forever.
Now I get hundreds and hundreds of letters a week, all of which I read, and a great deal of them are to do with grief and personal problems.
Just breathe, just breathe, just breathe.
It's quite difficult to talk about this, but I read a letter that comes in from someone talking about the fact that I'm sorry, this is actually quite difficult to talk about. Talking about the fact that their husbands died, right? And you're reading it and you realize the husbands died 15 years ago or something like that, right? This sort of sell-by date has happened with grief, and everyone's gone, look, it's time to move on and all of this sort of stuff. And it's just not, it's not like that. That's not the way things seem to work as far as I can see. So there's a great beauty in the Red Hand Files. That's you know, it's an extreme privilege to be receiving these letters from people, and it is this bizarre sort of opportunity for people to indulge to some degree in their grief around things.
How does grief feel After a number of years versus in the immediate aftermath, what does grief feel like several years on as opposed to when you're in the absolute maelstrom of it straight away?
You get practiced at it. That's a terrifying aspect. Today is the anniversary of Jethro's death. The second son who died.
Breaking news now, the eldest son of Australian singer Nick Cave has died, aged 31.
I had an understanding of the process because I'd been through it already. There is the initial cataclysmic event that we eventually absorb or rearrange ourselves so that we become creatures of loss as we get older, that this is part of our fundamental fabric of what we are as human beings. We are things of loss. And that this is not a tragic element to our lives, but rather a deepening element, and that brings incredible meaning into our life. In general, I think our lives collect meaning from these sorts of things.
I'm sorry that this interview's landed on the anniversary of your son's death.
Okay, it's odd that we're jumping straight into this too.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's just...
I'm happy to follow where you want to go, but please, if I ask anything that oversteps the line...
No, it's not that. For me, when I do interviews, it just very quickly lands back at this place, and
but that's fine, Nick, because it's obviously very present with you all the time. When you've gone through real pain, as you have, it's like you get this understanding that all of the order in the world can just be over like that. How does one live one's life once that has become real to you?
I mean, this is quite a complicated thing, but the sort of void that was left, there was a kind of rushing in of meaning that came into that void in all sorts of different ways that allowed me to see the world in a different way, allowed me to be much more basically compassionate towards the human predicament, less embittered. It was kind of a counterfactual response. It in fact, rather than made me bitter, it did the opposite in some way. It made me much more connected to people in general.
I don't believe in an interventionist God.
I've always had a religious temperament, even as a child.
But I know, darling, that you do.
But no need for it. You know, I was sort of drug addicted for a couple of decades.
But if I did, I would kneel down and ask him.
And had a great interest in this sort of stuff, but no need for it. And I think after Arthur died, not immediately, but, you know, it's been quite a while now, but rather than feeling anger towards that sort of stuff or rejecting that sort of stuff, I felt a slow movement towards a religious life that I've found extremely helpful and kind of widening thing that's happened in my life.
Into my arms, oh Lord, into my arms.
Do you feel sitting here today, like, does that feel like the same person to you, the guy that was, say, on the streets of New York trying to score 25 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, I don't do that anymore. But I recognise the impulse, and I don't have the the sort of desire to use drugs and drink and stuff, I don't struggle with that at all. I mean, those sorts of things are around me all the time. I still live in a rock and roll world. I'm not like tempted to return to that way of life, but I still recognise it and identify with it. You know?
This is a very personal question, so tell me to sod off if you don't want to answer it.
Unlike these other ones.
In the aftermath of when such terrible things happened to you and the death of Arthur and so on, and then Jethro, why did drugs not seem like, well, that would be just a relief or be oblivion or it'd be something to turn to?
You know, it didn't occur to me. You know, it's not a relief. I know that. It doesn't fix anything. But mostly I had responsibilities to other people. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just about me. It was an honouring of the people that had actually died, for one thing, and that I had my wife to look after, who was going through you know, like mothers who've lost children go through something different. It's a different thing than a father that's lost a child. It's a different calibre of suffering. That's, you know, it's a sort of hell unto itself. And the idea that I would go off and become a junkie again or whatever, you know, is clearly a bad idea. You know, and there were the other children too, you know. So it just wasn't something that crossed my mind.
Oh my God!
Hey.
Shit.
I've got brown hair.
Been all right?
Yeah.
What you doing?
Nothing.
Oh, God.
I'm just very, very lucky to be married to someone that I remain completely in love with, you know, and remains an enormous source of inspiration to me. I'm awed by her.
After Arthur died, I found this in storage, and I just couldn't believe it when I saw it, because it's a painting that he did when he was, how old, about 5 or something like that. And it was, it's of the windmill, and, you know, just where he died.
To see her completely incapacitated, bedridden, you know, in a darkened room, in a tomb of her own, I would say, into someone that just eventually got out of bed and went to work, and to sort of rise out of it in some way, I've forever in awe of. So there's that. We have a relationship that is sort of bound together by both love and like catastrophe, and that once again adds layers of meaning to our life that are together that I don't think were probably there to begin with.
I try to, you know, to just keep moving forward. You know, since everything that happened, my work became something different, you know. Before it was something I was doing, you know, because I was enjoying it and loving it, but then it became a real necessity. I really had to work, and because it was the only thing that would take my mind off everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think in life there's a temptation to see it as linear, that, you know, things are, you're happy and then you're sad and so on, but obviously joy and sorrow all kind of coexist all the time. And while you're obviously carrying grief with you all the time, you're also now a grandfather.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just been the most amazing experience. I wasn't quite prepared for how much it would affect me. This little guy, his name's Roman Cave, is such a gorgeous-looking little creature. I mean, it's extraordinary. It's made me extraordinarily happy.
I'm a grandfather, so. Feels pretty good.
What kind of grandfather would you like to be?
I'm looking forward to being the sort of grandfather that sort of sits, you know, in the armchair that says inappropriate things and has a terrible influence over everybody, and but the child secretly loves.
I'm a good dad. I have quite a gift with children in general, I think. I think I've always been quite good with kids, and I find being a father really easy. I mean, I meet other fathers and other parents, and they seem to be kind of exhausted by the whole thing, and I find it really energizing and very easy thing to do.
I'm talking to Earl on the phone.
Oh, let's say hi to Earl.
You're being filmed now, so you better hide.
Now, don't hide, Early.
I'm not hiding, I'm right here. I'll call you later then.
All right.
See you, Earl.
Are you okay? You okay there?
Yeah.
All right.
See ya.
Happy?
In your new album, the opening verse of the first song is about a man seeing a woman by a lake, and he talks about the golden light. Made me wonder...
Have you heard the record?
Yeah.
Oh, the whole thing?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, it's great.
It's not bad,
enjoyed
eh?
it. In those lyrics, the use of the word lake made me think of English countryside, but then golden light made me think of like the light in Australia at times. Does Australian imagery, even though you haven't lived here for a long time, still seep through into your work, do you think?
Yeah, it does. I'd say so. I mean, it always has.
Mary, grab the baby, the river's rising.
I've always thought of my songs as Australian.
Muddy water, taking back the land.
The particular locus of my childhood was the river in Wangaratta, where we used to hang out as kids on our bikes. And there's a railway bridge that goes over that. And I often think about that place. It appears in a lot of songs.
Take the child, the river's rising.
Have you been back to the river and the railway?
Yeah, I actually did. I don't know how long ago it was. I've said over the past, as a young person, terrible things about Wangaratta, which, now that I've grown up a bit, I kind of regret. But it was fun to go back there and to stand on a stage and sort of apologise to Australia, to, you know, the Australian police force, everyone else that I've sort of haven't had kind things to say about, and it was quite.
And what was
a
their
beautiful
reaction
thing.
to that?
They were fine about it.
Oh, this muddy water is taking back.
I haven't lived here for over 45 years or something like that, but I get, at times, a great nostalgia for Australia. Things fall away when I get back to Australia, and I feel relief, like I'm back in the place that I should be. I love Australian people, and I understand the people and stuff like that.
Your collaboration with Kylie Minogue, how did it come about?
Well, I was just a fan, and I always sort of watched her as a sort of pop icon, and kind of wished at some point she just sort of slows stuff down a little bit. And I had this song that was a duet. I just felt, wow, imagine if I sang that with Kylie Minogue.
Hello, Kylie. How are you today?
I was just really naive and didn't know about the legend of Nick Cave, and said, oh, that's really nice.
I'm a hell of a lot better for seeing you.
For her to do it required something of her.
On the third day, we took me to the river. Show me the roses ever kissed.
It was hugely controversial within her own management. They're like, you don't want to be doing a record with this guy. You know, I wasn't remotely in showroom condition at the time.
Do you actually mind taking your glasses off?
And so it was something for her to step into this, you know, male, drug-addicted world, which she did, to sing this song and she just showed extraordinary courage, I think, to do that. You know, I think most people just thought it was beautiful and bizarre and liked it. Maybe there were some people who just like, what are you doing it with Kylie Minogue for, whatever, I don't know. But I tell you who objected most was the Kylie Minogue fans.
A lot of people would have bought the album on the strength of the Kylie song. And the album isn't really like that at all. And so there was a certain kind of satisfaction about knowing that you could get that we could get our records into the kind of living rooms of people where they don't really belong.
Let's see what happens.
You ready?
Wild God's your 18th album with the Bad Seeds. What is it like to be in a band for such a long period of time?
Well, I have a lot of pride in the Bad Seeds, and I have a lot of pride that we're still around.
When it comes into the in the background, just like...
I think all of the Bad Seeds pretty much feel the same way. That very often, if you're in a band, it's like a kind of marriage or something like that that becomes stuck. And I've tended to move people around. People have come, people have gone. The Bad Seeds remain a fluid thing. There's a implicit understanding within the Bad Seeds that the music will always be different. And so no one's sitting back complacent within the group, and that just keeps the music inventive and going in different places.
Bring your spirit down.
I don't like to write songs. It's the last thing I want to do because it's difficult to write songs and it really requires something of you. And so I set a date and think, all right, I'm going to make a new record. This one was January the 1st of last year. I sat down, haven't written a song in years, and start to put together ideas for a record. I'm always aware that the next record, if it's any good, it's going to lose some fans. But I don't know, I just feel like I still got things to say and I feel energized about things and, you know, on it goes.